Let's get started with our first story of the day. Jon Jones reportedly won't accept fights he thinks he can lose, according to his coach. As the MMA world continues to eagerly anticipate a potential showdown between Jones and interim heavyweight champion Tom Aspinall, the speculation surrounding this long-awaited bout only continues to grow. Many fans and analysts have started to believe that Bones may actually be ducking Aspinall, and now, recent comments from renowned MMA coach Javier Mendez have added more fuel to the fire. Last November, Jon Jones gave fans a glimmer of hope by publicly admitting that he might be open to fighting Aspinall, but only if the UFC is willing to offer him a massive payday. Jones said it would take trucks of cash to make that fight happen. Fast forward to mid-2025, and there's still no official confirmation about this potential matchup. In the meantime, fans are left wondering whether the UFC will ever finalize the fight, or if it's just a fantasy matchup that will never materialize. Recently, Javier Mendez appeared on Tim Welch's show and gave his honest opinion about Jon Jones's mindset. According to Mendez, Jon is not the type of fighter who takes risks unless he believes he has a clear path to victory. Jon Jones is not the type of guy that likes to lose, Mendez stated. He's such a winner in every aspect of what he does that you're not going to push him into a fight if he doesn't feel he can win it and doesn't have a good advantage. He's not going to take it. He went on to say, let's face it, Aspinall is one of those guys where you have to ask yourself, do I really want to take this fight? I think the UFC is going to have to put a lot of money on the table to convince Jon to say, okay, I'm down. Because the truth is, Jon doesn't need to prove anything to anybody. He's already done it all. So what's your take on what Javier said? Do you agree that Jones only takes fights when the odds are stacked in his favor? Or do you think this is just smart career planning from a fighter who's already proven himself to be one of the greatest of all time? Meanwhile, UFC President Dana White continues to insist that Jones versus Aspinall will happen. Even though Jones was recently spotted partying in Thailand, White claims that the promotion is still working behind the scenes to make this mega fight a reality. And then there's Paddy Pimblett, who recently called out the UFC's inconsistency. While speaking with TNT Sports, Paddy said, if the UFC is making Islam Makhachev vacate the lightweight belt, then why not strip Jon Jones too? He added, Islam's defended his belt 4 times and even took short notice fights. If you're stripping him, then let him try to be double champ or strip Jones as well. So do you side with Paddy on this one? Should the UFC strip Jones if he doesn't fight soon? Let us know what you think in the comments. Moving on to our next story, Drakkar Klose will beat Khamzat Chimaev, according to reigning one championship middleweight champion Reinier de Ridder. While the general consensus in the MMA community is that Khamzat will walk out of UFC 319 with the middleweight title strapped around his waist, de Ridder has a very different prediction for how things will play out on August 16th. During a recent interview with MMA Junkie, RDR broke down why he believes du Plessis will come out on top in this high-stakes showdown. According to him, the South African champion has a clear edge in endurance, heart, and late round performance, and that will be the key to victory. I think Drakkar will win, de Ridder confidently said. I don't think Khamzat is going to get him out of there early. Drakkar is a man. He keeps going in every round. Though it doesn't really look better, his technique actually improves every round. I see Drakkar finishing him in the 4th or 5th round, maybe, with a lot of volume and pressure. He continued, I could see Khamzat taking him down in the 1st or 2nd round, maybe getting to his back. Yeah, that's possible, but I honestly think Drakkar has a very good shot. He's hard to break. He's awkward, tough, and has that unpredictable style that just wears you down. It's a take that's sure to spark debate, especially considering how dominant Khamzat Chimaev has been throughout his UFC career. Undefeated, ferocious, and relentless, Chimaev has steamrolled nearly everyone he's faced. But despite all the hype, Reinier de Ridder is urging fans not to overlook the grit and evolution of du Plessis. And let's be honest, people have consistently underestimated du Plessis in the past. Leading up to his fights with Robert Whittaker, Sean Strickland, and even Israel Adesanya, many fans and analysts wrote him off. They claimed he was too unorthodox, too slow, or not technical enough. But in every single case, du Plessis proved them wrong. Against Whittaker, he outclassed the former champ. Against Strickland, he showed he could take damage and keep pressing forward. And though the fight with Adesanya hasn't happened yet, the fact that Drakkar is even in that conversation shows how far he's come. So now, with UFC 319 just around the corner, the big question is, can Drakkar hand Chimaev his first loss? Will his toughness, awkward style, and gas tank be enough to weather the early storm and take over late? Rainier de Ridder certainly thinks so. He believes that if Dricus can survive the early grappling and takedown attempts, he'll wear Khamzat down with relentless pressure, unpredictable movement, and constant volume. What about you? Do you agree with RDR's prediction? Or do you see Khamzat Chimaev dominating and walking away with the belt? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear your take. Let's shift gears now. Paddy Pimblett calls out Ilia Topia for having easy opponents. Topia is currently ranked number 3 in the UFC's pound-for-pound rankings, but according to Paddy Pimblett, El Matador has been getting easy matchups. If you followed both Topia and Pimblett, then you know the two have been feuding for years. Recently, Pimblett sat down with TNT Sports, and while discussing the possibility of facing Topia someday, the baddie took a jab at his rival's resume. Apart from Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall, I think me versus Ilia is the biggest fight the UFC can make. There's loads of history in it. People love that stuff. He's done a lot in the sport since then, but I still think he's being hand-fed opponents. Paddy continued, I saw something someone posted the other day. All his opponents. Holloway was back at 145 after that war with Gaethje. Volk had just been knocked out 2 or 3 months earlier. Josh Emmett is 37. And Bryce. As much as I love Bryce, we know he's not a striker. Now it's true that when Topuria fought Volkanovski, the legend was only a few months removed from that brutal knockout loss to Islam Makhachev. But Holloway's loss to Topuria came about 6 months after his war with Gaethje. Emmett might not be what he used to be, and Mitchell is more of a grappling specialist, but it's not like Topuria was getting fed cans. What do you think? All that aside, Topuria is now scheduled to fight Charles Oliveira at UFC 317. But recently, Ali Abdelaziz argued that either Justin Gaethje or Arman Tsarukyan should be fighting for the belt. According to Ali, Oliveira is 2-2 in his last 4 fights. In contrast, Gaethje is 3-1 in his last 4, and he gave up a title shot to step in during International Fight Week, where he knocked out Dustin Poirier. Ali stated Poirier beat the number 12 to get a title shot during Fight Week. Hooker got injured, and we fought Fiziev. I think Arman is more deserving than Oliveira. I don't think Oliveira is the toughest fight for him. I think he walks through Oliveira. Do you see Topuria running through Do Bronx? Now, both Islam and Ilia have talked about their legacies and their desire to win a belt in another division. But since neither man currently holds a belt while heading into their next title fight, Henry Cejudo doesn't believe they'll achieve true greatness. There's a difference, said Cejudo. There's a difference between being a multi-champ and then being a double champ, like actually holding one belt on each shoulder, like Conor McGregor, like Amanda Nunes, like DC, and of course the Triple C. He added, if Ilia wins, does that mean he's a double champ? Or if Islam wins and then fights JDM, does that make him a double champ? I even felt like Ilia should never have vacated. Same with Islam Makhachev. It's a fair point, right? And as this debate continues, Topuria has received yet another high-profile call-out. Hezbollah went on X and wrote, hey Ilia Topia, if you really want that belt, then I'm ready. Dana White, send the contract, I will bring the lightweight belt back to Dagestan. Let's move on to another intriguing development in the lightweight division. Arman Tsarukyan has his sights set on a high-profile matchup next. He's aiming for a fight against none other than Justin Gaethje. Tsarukyan recently appeared on the Jackson Wink podcast, where he laid out why this potential fight feels like the natural next step in his career, and why it just makes perfect sense given the current state of the division. During the podcast, Tsarukyan explained, I feel like it's supposed to be Gaethje. It all makes sense. He went on to break down the lightweight landscape, pointing out that Charles Oliveira is scheduled to fight Ilia Topia for the title, and Dustin Poirier is set to battle Max Holloway for the BMF title. With Gaethje currently without an opponent and himself also in need of a fight, the matchup feels like an obvious next move. He said, Oliveira is fighting Ilia for the title. Gaethje has no fight. Poirier is fighting Holloway for the BMF title. Me and Justin don't have a fight, so it makes sense. International Fight Week, me versus Gaethje. And who knows, if someone gets hurt, me or Gaethje could fight for the title. Tsarukyan's confidence is clear here. He's not just looking for any fight, but a fight that could have big implications for the lightweight title picture. The fact that he's ready to step in during International Fight Week, which is one of the UFC's biggest events of the year, shows he's eager to make a statement. On the question of timing, Tsarukyan also touched on the UFC's upcoming UFC 317 card. He noted that while the card features some solid names like Beneil Dariush and Movsar Evloev, Moicano was likely a slip or mix-up, but the point stands about solid fighters on the card. The promotion could use a bigger name and a ranked fighter to add star power. Tsarukyan said they put Beneil Dariush and Moicano on that UFC 317 card. I think they need someone like a bigger name and a ranked fighter on that card. He revealed that he was told about fighting in October, but he's not interested in waiting that long. He explained, "They told me about October, so maybe I'm going to fight in October, but until then, I can fight one more time. It doesn't make sense to wait until October." This shows that Tsarukyan is hungry to stay active and keep his momentum going. For a fighter of his caliber, long layoffs can stall progress and opportunities. His willingness to fight sooner also opens the door to potential short-notice matchups or last-minute replacements, which could fast-track his way toward a title shot. Given the lightweight division's current shakeup, with Oliveira, Poirier, and Gaethje all involved in different narratives, Tsarukyan's push for a fight against Gaethje could shake things up and deliver an exciting matchup for the fans. What do you think? Would you like to see Arman Tsarukyan take on Justin Gaethje next? Could this be a fight that propels the winner closer to the lightweight title? Let me know your thoughts. On to the next topic involving Arman Tsarukyan, who recently weighed in on the possibility of facing off against Paddy Pimblett, one of the UFC's most talked about lightweight contenders. As the current #1 contender in the lightweight division, Tsarukyan approached the idea with a bit of hesitation despite Pimblett's growing popularity and momentum. Tsarukyan made it clear that he doesn't see an immediate matchup with Paddy as the best move for him right now. The primary reason, the significant gap between their rankings. Pimblett currently sits at number 8, while Tsarukyan is right at the top of the division, poised for a title shot. During a recent discussion, former UFC bantamweight champion TJ Dillashaw argued that taking the fight against Pimblett could still be a smart career move for Tsarukyan. Dillashaw highlighted the hype surrounding Pimblett, who has become one of the sport's most marketable fighters, often referred to as Paddy the Baddie. Dillashaw pointed out that the UFC and fans alike are building a lot of momentum around Pimblett, making him a dangerous opponent with a growing fan base. What if they come at you with a fight, like they keep saying right now? Paddy the Baddie. Everybody keeps saying that, Dillashaw said. His argument was that fighting Pimblett now could capitalize on all that hype and potentially boost Tsarukyan's own profile. Tsarukyan acknowledged Dillashaw's point, but was pragmatic about the timing and rankings. "Yeah, but Paddy just fought 1 month ago. If he's ready in the summer, I would fight him," he explained. Tsarukyan also mentioned hearing that Paddy wants to fight in October, which complicates things. "If I wait for Paddy, while Oliveira and Topuria fight for the title, and then in October they defend, I'm still stuck fighting the number 8 guy. It's not good." This comment reveals Tsarukyan's desire to stay active and strategically position close to the title, rather than taking a fight that might stall his progress. He's clearly looking ahead to the bigger picture, the lightweight title, and wants to avoid getting caught in a holding pattern against a lower-ranked opponent while others fight for the belt. Dillashaw, however, continued to push the idea of taking the fight for the exposure and momentum it would bring. "I would still take that, man. Just because of the hype train he's on right now, they're building him up, steal all that momentum," he said. Tsarukyan's response was firm and practical. "Yeah, but he's coming back in October. I wouldn't wait. He's focused on maintaining momentum without unnecessary delays, and he's not willing to hold out for a fight with Pimblett that won't happen for several months." This back and forth highlights the tension many fighters face between taking fights for the business and hype aspects and staying strategically positioned for title opportunities. Tsarukyan's stance shows a mature approach to career management, prioritizing the title shot over hype fights, even against a popular rising star like Paddy Pimblett. What are your thoughts on this? Should Tsarukyan take on Pimblett sooner to capitalize on the hype, or focus on staying sharp and ready for a direct path to the title? And finally, let's talk about Paddy Pimblett, who has also set his sights on a big fight with Justin Gaethje, potentially as soon as October. Speaking recently to TNT Sports, Pimblett didn't hold back his ambitions. When asked about a possible matchup with Gaethje, Paddy confidently stated, "If I beat Gaethje, I'm next in line. He could be next. It's just if he says yeah or not." This shows that Paddy clearly sees Gaethje as a key stepping stone on his path to a lightweight title shot. A win over Gaethje, a former interim lightweight title challenger and one of the toughest fighters in the division, would undoubtedly catapult Paddy even closer to the championship bout. Paddy's focus is sharp, and he's eager to prove himself against one of the division's top contenders. Pimblett has his eyes set on Abu Dhabi in October for this potential showdown. The timing makes sense given both fighters' schedules and the UFC's penchant for holding major events in Abu Dhabi during that period. The promotion loves the spectacle and global attention the location brings, and Paddy is clearly eager to be part of that big stage. However, despite Paddy's public confidence and readiness to take on Gaethje, UFC President Dana White has already shut down the idea of that fight happening anytime soon. White has been quite clear that Pimblett won't be facing Gaethje in October, putting a halt to the speculation and hype around this potential clash. This is typical of Dana, who often plays a big role in matchmaking decisions and sometimes keeps certain fights off the table until the timing is right from the UFC's perspective. Still, Paddy's willingness to call out Gaethje publicly adds more fuel to the fire and sets the stage for what could be a highly anticipated matchup down the road if Dana changes his mind or circumstances shift. So the ball is in Gaethje's court now. Will he accept Paddy's challenge, or will the UFC keep this fight on hold for a while longer? Only time will tell.